Betty and Bala and the Proper Big Pumpkin by Lorraine Barola, Lily Jane Collins and Noel Cristado. This is a book made in the Torres Straits on Thursday Island. The day of the great birthday party had finally come. Lots of friends and relatives were travelling by dinghy from the outer islands, and everyone was bringing food for the feast. Akka's job was to make sop. She was very good at it and very particular. Akka wanted everything to be just right. Who got the banana, the sweet potato, the yams? Bala, do you have enough coconut milk? Betty, get the pumpkin. Akka, there's no pumpkin, answered Betty. Oh no, we can't make sop without pumpkin, cried Akka. We must go to the shop quickly. There's so much to do. On the way, Bala shouted, Look, Akka, a navy boat. Can we go see it? Later. There's not enough time, replied Akka. Bala was disappointed, but he didn't give up. Closer to the shop, Bala looked towards the wharf. It's nearly in. Let's go see it, he pleaded. Later, said Akka. Now go and buy me a proper big pumpkin while I go and speak to Auntie. Inside the fruit shop, Betty and Bala found just what Akka wanted, a proper big pumpkin. Look at that beautiful pumpkin, exclaimed Betty. Just buy it, snapped Bala impatiently. Then we can go to the wharf. Akka was very busy talking to Auntie and her friends. Betty, exclaimed Bala, Akka will talk while we have to wait. Let's run to the wharf. We'll be back before she notices. Bala, we can't. Akka will be wild if we don't bring her the pumpkin, and there's so much to do, pleaded Betty. Yawa, shouted Bala, and he was gone. Oh no, he'll take forever, thought Betty, and she raced after him. Betty ran towards the wharf as fast as she could, and the proper big pumpkin bounced and wiggled in the plastic bag. Just as she reached the top of the stairs, rip! Bounce, roll, tumble, screech! The pumpkin wobbled to a halt in the middle of the road. Betty quickly grabbed the pumpkin and headed for the wharf. Betty, Akka will be wild if the pumpkin is broken, Bala growled. Give it to me. Okay, sighed Betty. Now let's go back. Auntie had been fishing all morning and suddenly she got a big strike. She pulled against the fighting fish while the line looped and piled on the wharf, just as Betty and Bala were walking by. Splash! The pumpkin was gone. Can you see Bala jump in off the wharf? After lots of shouting, screaming, kicking and splashing, Bala and the proper big pumpkin made it safely to shore. Betty was waiting. Bala, you're so clumsy. Akka will be wild if the pumpkin is lost. Give it to me. He was too tired to argue. He just crawled up the beach to recover. Bala rested on the sand and Betty decided to have a swim. She splashed in the water and the proper big pumpkin floated and bump! Uncle had never seen a pumpkin floating in the sea before. Look, Mama, a floating pumpkin, he said with a curious smile. Come on, Betty, bring the pumpkin, Bala ordered. Akka will wonder what's happened. The pumpkin? Said Betty. Oh no, the pumpkin! Betty and Bala borrowed a bike and searched. No luck. They ran along the beach and over the rocks. Still no luck. Bala climbed high up in an almond tree. It's gone! The proper big pumpkin's gone, cried Betty. There it is. There's the proper big pumpkin, yelled Bala. It sat proudly in the middle of Uncle's load of gear. We have to get it back, exclaimed Bala. We can't just take it, whispered Betty. That would be stealing. Akka will be wild. We're not stealing, said Bala. We're rescuing the pumpkin. It still didn't seem right. Bala snatched the pumpkin and slid his shirt over it as a disguise. Quick, hide the pumpkin, squealed Betty frantically. Where? Shouted Bala. Then he saw the bus. After hiding the pumpkin on the bus, Betty and Bala scuttled away to hide. Now what'll we do? Worried Betty. Akka will be wild if we don't get back soon. Don't worry, I've got a plan, smiled Bala. But the bus began to move. Up the hill went the bus. Pedal faster, cried Betty. Down the bus ricocheted the pumpkin. Down the hill went the bus. Slow down, screamed Betty. Roll, bump, slide went all the shopping. Akka had enjoyed talking to Auntie and meeting her friends. Ah, well, she sighed. I must go. There's so much to do. I wonder where those children are, she thought. Just then, everyone arrived. Betty, Bala, where's my pumpkin? Asked Akka, puzzled. Well, said Betty slowly. Suddenly, the bus door burst open and out bounced the pumpkin. There it is, shouted Bala with half a smile as the pumpkin wobbled to a halt, followed by the bananas, the oranges, the soft drinks, the rice, the toilet paper. I told you Akka will be wild, whispered Betty, with the glare as they packed up all the shopping into the baskets. Finally, they had finished, and all that remained was the proper big pumpkin. You children can't be trusted, growled Akka. Now give it to me. As they marched off down the road, Akka holding the pumpkin in one arm, shaking her umbrella in the other, with Betty and Bala just out of reach. All you had to do was buy a pumpkin, not embarrass me in front of everyone. I don't believe... And Akka would have gone on forever, except... Beep! Oh my goodness, cried Akka. Thud, bounce, splash! Bob, 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 went the proper big pumpkin, and Akka was not wild any longer. The end. Can you see the proper big pumpkin? Big S all for listening, everyone. Yawa.